We are back. Welcome to Subjectively, the channel where we discuss the art of character design in the context of popular media. In the case of this video, Pokemon. My name is Jack, and I know that a lot of you have been waiting anxiously for more Mazah region content. Well, we're finally ready to deliver. We deviated slightly to focus on some time-sensitive League of Legends content, but now that the VGU poll is all said and done, it's time to get back to some Fakemon fun. That rhymed. I didn't realize that rhymed when I wrote that down. In the last Mazah region video, I mentioned that in the next installment of the series, we were going to focus on some non-Pokemon designs, human characters. Arguably as important to any well-crafted Pokemon game as the Pokemon themselves, the humans players control and interact with add another level of immersion. Every title in the core series features a host of iconic human characters, from the professors to the gym leaders to the player characters themselves. As much as we all love monsters, the human element of Pokemon games is a big part of what makes the series so widely popular. Fantasy immersion is a draw in almost every major video game title on the market today, and this immersion is most successful when it puts the player in the shoes of a human character that emulates the target demographic's interests and personality. Today, we're going to be workshopping designs for the player character of the currently untitled Mazah region games, and exploring what elements of visual character design are important to creating a strong protagonist, specifically in the setting of a core series Pokemon game. One of the many consistencies over the lifespan of Pokemon's flagship games is their silent protagonists, young, aspiring trainers controlled by the player that, while never actually saying anything, dramatically impact the course of the story throughout the game. Visually, these player characters have changed quite a bit since their first game appearance back in 1995. Ken Sugimori's iconic angular line work and bright watercolor painting style eventually shifted into something softer, less saturated, and more friendly looking. The outfits went from somewhat strange, sci-fi inspired athletic wear to clothing that more appropriately fit the respective themes of each new generation. In general, like any good franchise that has been around for as long as Pokemon, the art style adapted to meet the current standards of the industry, and to better suit their target demographic, children from ages 8 to 15. Now, of course, people of all ages play and enjoy Pokemon games, myself included. And yeah, sometimes I wish my character could have a beard and maybe not look so small next to adults. These design decisions, of course, are intentional. Most of us older players were within the target demographic when we first got into Pokemon, and while it's easy to forget, young players are still falling in love with the series just like we did all those years ago. Gamefreak understands that it would make it much harder for a 10-year-old to develop an interest in their games if the characters they controlled looked like their parents or their teachers. Most kids see themselves as strong, capable adventurers despite their age, and seeing that kind of independence represented in a character who looks to be just as old as they are is exciting. This is the first thing to keep in mind as we design these protagonist trainers. They need to look young, between the ages of 10 and 15, but not so young that they appear incompetent. This was actually a really tough challenge for me. Not only do I not draw a lot of children, but I also never draw humans in the anime-inspired Pokemon style that we're familiar with today. A lot of my human characters look very severe or powerful and tend to be on the less friendly side. I had to be aware of these habits and restrain them a bit to keep these designs looking and feeling like real Pokemon protagonists. Like I said before, these trainers always look ready for anything. Confident, energetic poses that imply the capacity to jump into action at a moment's notice. I spent some time figuring out poses that would convey the same personality for these trainers. These traits are really the only ones present in official Pokemon protagonists. The rest of the character's personality is up to the player to decide. It's actually really important that they feel a little bit like a blank slate, as if they're missing something. And they are. They're missing you, the player. Now, there's an important question that almost every Pokemon player has had to answer over the course of their time playing these games. Are you a boy or a girl? For some of us, this is an easy question with a simple answer. But for a lot of people, these two options don't quite cover the full spectrum. Especially at an age where gender identity can feel incredibly confusing and stressful, I think it's important that games marketed to a younger demographic don't limit their player to either a boy or a girl. In the first Pokemon game, it wasn't even a question. You were a boy, that's it. Then in Generation 2, Gamefreak realized that they were limiting their target audience to restricting the player character to just boys. So they changed it and added a second option for gender. In the modern day, a new change to the old formula could help even more players feel included. I think the easy solution to this somewhat controversial question is to simply pose it as, what do you look like, A or B? This would allow people who identify as either male or female to pick the body they think best represents that identity, and others who identify on other parts of the spectrum to simply pick a base model to work off of without limiting it to a gender. At that point, the player could dress up their character any way they like and style the character any way they like, and not feel like they either have to be a boy or a girl. Character customization is a relatively new feature in Pokemon games. Introduced in Generation 6, these new options for everything from clothing to hairstyle to skin tone allowed players to further immerse themselves in the world by creating a character that better reflected themselves. I absolutely love being able to customize my character regardless of the type of game I'm playing. It allows me to convey my personality to other players and set myself apart from the crowd by showing off my sense of style or, in some cases, rare cosmetic collectibles that I've worked hard to earn. Furthermore, these customization options help to broaden the demographic of players by including skin tones, eye colors, and hairstyles that other Pokemon games, for whatever reason, never had as options. Seeing as the Mazah region is heavily inspired by Mexico, geographically, ecologically, and culturally, I thought it was important that the default player characters better represented that part of the world and the people that lived there. The apparel of my two characters was mostly inspired by hiking gear. It seemed appropriate that these two young trainers would need to be well equipped for the rugged terrain and unforgiving weather conditions of the Mazah region. They'd need to dress for the heat, open-toed shoes and short-sleeved shirts. And of course, like all Pokemon trainers, they'd need a place to store their items. A backpack or satchel for their Pokeballs, berries, and bicycle. You know, all the normal things a 10-year-old would carry around on their back. Once I finished my rough designs, it was time to finish the line work and start adding color. I wanted to use a desert palette. Greens, browns, reds, yellows, and oranges. Another consistency I've noticed across every default player character since Generation 1 is the inclusion of some shade of red in the palette. It makes sense, red is a very popular color in children's media. It's energetic, attention-grabbing, and exciting. I made sure to include it in both designs. For Peppa, the name I gave Trainer A, I went with red shorts, a sandy yellow top, and some green and brown accessories. It took some tweaking to get the color balances just right. A lot of artists whose styles are linework-centric, myself included, tend to give the color schemes of their characters less thought than they need once they reach that stage of the process. But of course, color is a huge part of any design, and it needs to be considered with as much patience and care as the linework and pose. For Omero, or Trainer B, I wanted to use some of the same colors as I did with Peppa, but with a few unique colors to give the two characters some individuality. I introduced a dusty blue for the pants, and a more saturated orange in the vest. I used just as much red in Omero's design as I did in Peppa's, but I broke it up a little bit so it wasn't as dominant of a color. I also kept the green, but I used it in much smaller, accented elements so that it would remain more prominent in Peppa's design. The way colors play off of each other in both designs is important. Peppa has lighter colors like the yellow and the green, which when placed together makes the entire composition brighter. Omero's dark red on gray on orange makes the whole look solid and dark. These are just two of the many options I would imagine to be available to the player when they start their adventure, and I would love to see more. In addition to these two designs, I'll also be uploading the template sketches that I used to create the two trainers to our DeviantArt. I'll encourage all of you watching this to download the templates and create your own outfits, hairstyles, and accessories for these trainers to truly make them your own. Pokemon protagonists are a vessel through which the player can channel their own personality into the world of the game. While that used to mean a blank canvas for kids to live vicariously through, in modern and future Pokemon games, I hope that customization of these characters will allow kids to feel more and more a part of this fantastical world. After all, what kid doesn't want to see themselves next to their favorite Pokemon? Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like to see more human designs for the Mazah region, or if you'd rather see some new Pokemon or Pokemon visual updates. Our next video will be a League one, sorry Pokefans, but more Mazah content is on its way, don't worry. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next video.